Yeah, is a,
So guess what? So I'm on the FOIA board. So I go to one of my first subcommittee meetings, HR committee. So Scotty and Cox, Scott, it's everybody we're meeting tomorrow. And they're showing all this great data about how the nursing shortage. They're only down to 70 positions and blah blah. And she's like, it's directly related to the work Tom has done. And COS. I'm like, oh, thank goodness. Compliment Ashley Bland is really working with the LVN apprenticeship. We're really trying to keep that going. And I thought, and then I started saying, well, we're going to talk about all of this tomorrow. Yeah. Today I'm just here like this. But then I get there like, oh, you're the chair of the committee. I'm like, Jonna. I just barely got here. Poor Jonna. Yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't know. I just thought I might kind of do. I love the question. How will you keep a job? Put your phone away, look people in the eye, shake hands. I'm like, oh, he's was everybody in here that like you should ask that we have remote. That sounds good. Yeah.
So are you guys incorporating AI training into your
We're working
workforce?
on it.
Yeah, it's a new field, so
Yeah.
learning as we go.
Everybody's gonna have to learn to. Hi.
Let me see. Trent,
That's me.
Ashley,
Yes.
and you must be John.
good evening and welcome. Have you all reviewed the agenda? It's good, pay no attention to it. I'm not gonna do it at all. No, it's a guideline. It's like the thing we're always quoting, my wife and I, Pirates of the Caribbeans. Not rules so much as guidelines. We're not gonna follow it, religiously, but it gives us an idea for a prompt for discussions. Jonna, do we have your titles correct on the agenda? Because that's where I'm gonna introduce you. Dean of CTE, is that Career Technical Education? And Workforce Development at College of Sequoias. Okay, good. And Trent, you haven't changed your.
Nope, still AI content engineering.
Okay. And Brian, I am. And Brian, I'm sorry we don't have a nameplate for you. Guess we got that. What's that? Yeah, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You can just keep shouting out your name all the time so we remember who you are. Oh, you checking to make sure we got you right? Is that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
looks so
make sure that it looks so official. You've been here before, and I talked with you. And John, have you been here too a long time ago? I say that to myself every time I'm here. I don't know why I'm here, but I keep coming. I keep coming back. Okay. Well, as you know, it's a pretty informal discussion. I like to say this is a guided conversation, and I'm your guide. Okay. So if you have something that you want to bring up, just barge right in there, and I will acknowledge you. You, maybe you want to introduce him.
Automation director.
And Paul will. What? In grammar school, I would get straight A's and 1 D.
We're gonna put that in his office.
You never got straight A's in grammar school. What are you talking about?
Yes, I.
You did not. Yeah, it is a lighter crowd than we usually have. Oh well, sorry about that.
We're releasing our jinx joy.
Oh, you know, that's if we allow you to speak. I'm probably not going to need this, but. Good evening. How's that? Welcome to Tulare County Voices at 210. I am Paul Hurley, your moderator and speaker for now. Thanks for coming out this evening. We don't have quite as many people as we usually do, but we are going to have a great, informative, and very well-educated discussion here. Come on in. Oh, thank you for that. Yes, and it's also being live streamed on First Presbyterian's YouTube channel and ours for 210. Tulare County Voices at 210 is a monthly forum, second Tuesday of the month. Each month we've been doing this for many years, and it's devoted to a discussion on issues of interest to the community. It's co-sponsored by the Visalia Times-Delta, the Valley Voice newspaper, and First Presbyterian Church, which owns this space and to whom we are very grateful for allowing us to use it free of charge on the second Tuesday of each month. So give them a little applause, First Presbyterian Church. I'm going to use that to sit down, so give me a second here. Our discussion this evening is working in Visalia, up training for an AI future. We had the flyer up behind me on the screens there for a while, but it's down now. But training for an AI future. We're presuming that the responsibilities of workers and those who train them are going to change thanks to technological innovations. It already has started, hasn't it? joining us. Oh, I should have just parked myself right there. And joining us this evening for this discussion are four very articulate and informed people on this subject. Left to right on our dais, Trent Lively is an AI content engineer, and he has joined us before to talk about how AI is influencing our lives, really. Next to him is Jana Schengel, Dean of Career Technical Education and Workforce Development at College of the Sequoias. Welcome, Jana. Thanks for being here. And next to her is Ashley Land, Director of Apprenticeship Programs at College of the Sequoias. And last but not least, Brian Medina, who is an automation engineer with Moonlight Companies, as well as an advisor at COS for their apprenticeship programs. So, what is being done to educate, prepare, and train the next generation of workers? Jana, you want to start off?
Sure. Well, at College of Sequoias, we are in the higher education system of the state of California. There's a Higher Education Act from 1960. That's a long time ago. Some of us were alive then. And at that time, it tasked the community college with workforce development. So the needs of local workforce were supposed to have access to a free education at the community college level. So COS, when we have programs at COS, especially in the career technical education, we have to have labor market information, number of jobs, hopefully high wage, high demand jobs before we can start that program. So at COS, we have about 47 different career technical education programs, and all of them lead to some level of work in the Central Valley. Some are short-term programs like a CNA, a certified nurse assistant, or an EMT, emergency medical technician. Those are a couple in the healthcare field. We have certificates in graphic design and multimedia. We have certificates in welding. And then we also have degree programs in electrician training, industrial maintenance, industrial automation, construction. We have a degree in welding. We have our degrees in nursing, physical therapy. So all of our career technical programs, whether at the certificate level or at the degree level, lead directly to work. And so my job is to make taxpayers for California that stay in the Valley. So that's what I do, and that's the best part of my job, is helping our students not only get the technical skills they need, but to develop the essential soft skills to keep a job. I tell them, you've got to get a job, but then you also have to keep it. So we're working really hard with this younger generation to put their phones away, learn how to shake people's hands, look them in the eye, write a sentence that's not texting. And we're fine with them using AI. We love it. We love it if they use AI to write a complete sentence. And so we're working really hard to make a well-rounded employee that has that ability to use AI in the trades, in the technical fields, because we are having to embed AI in all of our programs, because it's one of the tools that they need to use to stay competent in the workforce.
Jana, did you come with any numbers?
I have a few numbers. Some of the highest wage, highest demand jobs that we're training for at COS right now are electricians. We're adding a second full-time electrician faculty this fall. We cannot produce enough electricians for the state of California, much less the Valley. So that's probably one of our highest wage, highest demand jobs. And I would like to say that it's a job AI will not replace. These are hands-on people. They build things, and they're the trades. We just invested over $44 million in a tech and trades complex out at our Tulare campus, and one of our premier programs is our electrician training program. Probably the second most high wage, high demand jobs are in instrumentation controls and program control technicians, which is what Brian does and also helps teach at COS. And then HVAC, environmental control, those students only go to school a year at COS, and they often are offered jobs before they even finish our program. They make pretty high wage, high demand jobs with just a 1-year certificate. We also have, our jobs in healthcare are some of the highest wage, highest demand in the area. We're narrowing the nursing shortage. I was at a meeting with Kauai today, and the nursing shortage is not over, but it's close. And we're really excited about the work that we've done with all the college partners and with our large healthcare providers in the area. Ashley has led a huge initiative in apprenticeship, LVN to RN apprenticeship, that has really made nurses be able to, nurses who are already working in the healthcare system be able to get their RN with no debt. And that's really important to us. That it's not really fair to give a student a great job if they are $80,000 or $100,000 in debt. So that's another thing that we're committed to through the apprenticeship programs, is to have the employers help offset the cost of the training so that students get out and they can spend their money on a house or a car or other things.
How does that work? You line up? Yeah, I probably ought to ask this of you,
Yeah.
Ashley.
She's the guru.
How does that work to get those students so that they get out of school with no debt?
Oh, that's a great question. So with the apprenticeship model, it is college with no debt. So the employer is sponsoring this student through their training program. So we're currently working with Kauai Health and hopefully Adventist. We're taking LVNs that have worked at their organizations for years and have been committed to serving these communities, our local communities. And so we're preparing them to enter the nursing program successfully, and then once they get into the program, they're sponsored by their employer, Kauai. And then after they've finished their nursing program, they're going to become a registered nurse, and they're going to commit to Kauai and staying within our local communities being nurses. And so the sponsorship is really them being, Kauai is paying for the cost of their training. So it's college with no debt.
Let me continue with some numbers. Number of students per year that enroll and then complete these programs. You have any idea?
Well, right now, COS
Don't worry,
is,
we're not going to,
COS is
grade you on this.
COS is one of the few California community colleges that has a high enrollment. A lot of the community colleges in the urban areas have low enrollment. We are over enrolled. We serve about 14 to 15,000 students at our three campuses.
Is that because the other institutions have more competition with other?
A little bit of that. It's just less students. Their K-12 systems are also low enrolled.
Oh,
So
yeah,
we just
that's
have an
okay.
area where our population is growing in the Central Valley.
Yeah,
It's still a relatively inexpensive place to live for California, so people are coming here. Also, I think COS, we don't have a four-year college in the area, and so COS with our university center is really kind of positioned to really become the four-year college in Visalia. So that's another reason I think we attract such high numbers in enrollment, because they can now stay here at COS and get a four-year degree from other colleges. As far as the trades, we probably produce about 200 to 250 certificates and then another 150 degrees a year
A year.
in the trades and the tech field.
How many enroll? I'm trying to look.
I'll tell you
You
right
see what
now-
I'm getting at, some of
yes,
the
I do.
percentage of
One
success.
One of the good things is that our programs are high demand, and so if they get a spot, they don't leave it. So our biggest problem right now is that we have long wait lists in all of our programs. So most of the students that get into our programs, they stay. We probably have about an 80 to 90% completion rate. We work really hard. We have student success coordinators, tutoring. We have industry partners come in. I mean, Brian's, coming straight from industry and helping students learn skills that they need. So we're working really hard to connect our students to employers so that they really can see the end. They can see the end of the race. They don't get as discouraged. So we try to work really hard to keep them engaged.
And how many instructors do you have for these kinds of students?
Well, I'm over the Industry and Technology Division, and I have about 30 faculty in nursing and allied health. We have about another 40.
Nursing, yeah, okay.
Yeah. But there's all kinds of trades. There's other
that-
programs at COS as
Yeah,
well.
that doesn't count the
General ed.
public
Safety.
academies either,
Right.
right?
That's fire, police,
Yeah.
paramedic, and EMT. Those are all housed at our Hanford campus.
Yeah, okay. So that's quite a bit of people who are teaching these students,
Yep.
isn't it? Okay.
We're really proud of our faculty. Many of them have come from industry and then really learned to be effective instructors and lab instructors. We work hand in hand with our industry partners to make sure that our students are taught by people that really know their content area and they're experts in their field. Another reason we hire people like Brian, because we want our students to learn what's really being done in the workplace. All of the CTE programs, their curriculum and their learning outcomes have to be assessed and measured every 2 years. And we have to have advisory boards from the trades and any of the programs that tell us if what we're teaching is still accurate and still leads to a job. We don't want to teach them something that's obsolete.
Where do the members of those advisory boards come from?
Local industry partners,
Local
we work
industry
pretty
people in the
hard.
industrial park, businesses like that?
Yep, businesses like that. Anybody,
Okay.
and one of the things, anytime someone calls and says, hey, do you have a resume for a student? We invite them to be a part of our advisory board. We're gonna have a tech and trades hiring event at the Tulare campus. We have about 70 employers that will be there that day, looking at all of those students, probably looking at about 400 or 500 students that are just about ready to graduate in May, just about ready to enter the workforce.
Brian, how did you end up with these people?
It's a good question. How did I end up? So Travis, who's the automation instructor, he introduced me to Jonna, and there was an open position for an adjunct. So I applied for that, got on. I was teaching nighttime PLCs for COS. And
Tell them what that is.
so a PLC is an industrial computer. So anything that you guys buy, any stuff that's packaged, fruit, anything you buy in a store has to go through some kind of process to get there. And all these different factories in the area use computers, and there's these small industrial computers. They can survive in high temperatures and dirty conditions, and they use a certain program language called ladder logic, and somebody has to know how to program that. So that's what I teach. And based on feedback from the real world, so if it's like a sensor, a photo eye, a switch, you press a switch, you turn on the light, that kind of stuff, that runs through the ladder logic, and then we'll turn on some kind of an output, so a motor, a light, things like that. It becomes very complex. That's kind of a rudimentary explanation for it. But so I started teaching that, and then due to my industry connections, Jonna put me with Ashley, and we started working on some different, then we did some stuff for the web, just different programs, and that led to the director role that I'm in with COS now, and I've also maintained my position in industry with Moonlight.
Are you kind of a typical instructor for these kinds of things?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. The name of the company is Moonlight Companies.
So Moonlight is the biggest stone fruit processor in the world at this point. Stone fruit would be like peaches, anything with a pit.
Stone Fruit Processing.
Yeah.
That-
That's in Reedley. So we purchased the Garal and Wawona farms when those went out of business a couple years ago. And
Oh, really? That's how that ended up? Okay.
yeah, so we do a lot of fruit. So if you guys have bought any peaches, nectarines, anything like that in the last couple of years from Target, Trader Joe's, Walmart, Costco, whatever, it's probably come from Moonlight.
A lot of the jobs in this automation field are in the food processing area, and that's why there's so
Sure.
much high demand in Kings and Tulare County. And Brian's right on the cutting edge. So it's not only educating students who haven't had a job, but Brian does a lot of upskilling. So people that work at low wage jobs at these companies can work their way up. We call it upskilling. So that's something that Ashley and Brian work really closely on with employers that don't have time to let their students go through a 1-year program or a 2-year program. We try to customize training through our training resource center so they can do something quick and more intense. And we're not just doing entry-level jobs, we're also doing upskilling jobs so that people can make a more livable wage.
So do you have current employees coming back to you for retraining, up-training? Ashley, Brian, either one?
We do, yeah. So we even have industry partners that will come to us and they want to upskill a group of people. So that happens all the time. We have students that come back that want upskilling. It's a big thing.
And you set up a class for them for particular skills or practices that they're seeking?
Correct. So for instance, we did a class for VF Outdoor because they wanted their maintenance guys to have more electrical skills. So we set up a specific class for them on a Saturday where I would come in and teach, I think it was almost 20 guys.
Okay.
You go to the company and
That's something we can do. We haven't done it yet. Well, that's not true. I've done it for JG Boswell last year. Typically, they will come to the Training Resource Center in Visalia in the industrial park.
Yeah, remember? Ashley told us all about that.
Real quick, the Training Resource Center is a component of College of Sequoias. They're part of us, but they're out there. They have a brand new facility out in the Visalia Industrial Park, and they do what's called not for credit. So it won't show up on the transcript, but it's industry customized training that the employers are seeking. And so it's really kind of like menu type classes, more high-skilled technical training, and they don't have to stop and go to college. And the employer then takes care of the training cost.
Who pays for those?
The Training Resource Center is primarily funded by the employer, but College of Sequoias does fund some of the positions.
Well, I just had a question regarding the ag processing. This is not, is this packing? Is this sensing? Is it grading? Is it like magic where the exact number of ounces of fruit gets in the package because this machine, can you describe some of that process?
Sure. So it's all of that. So we pick our own fruit that comes into Moonlight. So stone fruit in particular, that stuff comes in, and within 9 hours, it's out the door like it's on a truck. So we bring it in, we send it for washing, we grade it using vision systems. Once it's graded, it goes into the hand packing area where they'll pack boxes. Those boxes are then sent out onto miles of conveyor. We're using cameras along the conveyor system to look at the box and track what's going where. Those feed into a robot. The robot will palletize entire layers, make a full pallet. That pallet gets sent out on another conveyor, goes into wrapping, loaded on a truck. It's all automated, apart from the hand packing. Sorry.
So Trenton, how many of these jobs are gonna last, are gonna exist? And is my job gonna last?
I think all of them are gonna. Can you guys hear me? My mic on? Okay. I think all the jobs are going to be around. It just depends on how they are going to pivot, like what skill sets are going to be in demand for those jobs. But the jobs themselves, I fully believe will still be there. Yeah, they're still gonna need people for sure. And for a little bit about my background, I actually work on a quality control team for large language model AI, specifically for Meta right now. And I've also had experience working with Google's Gemini AI model. And I actually had a little fun with this one because I thought, what better way to figure out what jobs are going to be useful in the future but to ask AI itself, right? And so if you guys bear with me here.
Some of my forms have been AI generated. Yeah. We all use it.
If you bear with me here, I did a little thought experiment.
It's all coming out now.
And I mean, so part of my job as a quality control specialist is to, whenever you put a prompt in, let's say ChatGPT, you want to make sure that your response is accurate, factual. You want to make sure that it's as objective as possible and not displaying any bias, right? Sometimes, we can't help but have bias in there, but we want to mitigate that as much as possible. And we really want to make sure that the information that's getting put out there is factual, right? So, like a good example of that would be like, if you're asking for investment information, and a responsible AI model should never tell you directly what stock to invest in, right? Because if it goes wrong, it's such an uncertain field. If it goes wrong, they can then be liable. So we always want to mitigate for that. But in this case, let me pull up my prompt that I did here, if you guys. So I wrote, I would like to run an experiment, and I'd like you to use all of the available data, current predictive analytics, and resources at your disposal to authentically and honestly answer the questions I'm going to pose. I'd like you to consider each question and how the answers may evolve or change over the next 5, 10, 20, and 40 years. Here are the following questions. And they were taken directly from the flyer for this, but so the question was, what jobs do you think will no longer be necessary given the previously outlined time frame? How important will higher education become? What do you feel are the best strategies for employees and workers to remain relevant in the next 5 to 10 years? And which skill sets offer the best job security in the next 5 to 10 years? Please answer using a paragraph format in a way that is easy to understand. Because a lot of times it loves bullet points. So I just want to read, you know.
It's ChatGPT.
And this is
This
is the standard ChatGPT model that's available. All you need is an internet connection or Wi-Fi. And this was its response. Jobs that may no longer be necessary or greatly reduced over the next 5 to 10 years, some routines, rules-based jobs will likely shrink because software, automation, and AI systems can perform them faster and cheaper. Examples include data entry clerks, telemarketers, simple bookkeeping roles, and routine customer support agents. And so AI is always referred to as agentic AI anyways, so that kind of tracks. As conversational AI and automated workflows improve, in the next 10 to 20 year range, automation may further reduce demand for cashiers, some call center roles, basic administrative assistants, and certain transportation jobs as self-checkout systems, AI scheduling tools, and autonomous vehicle technology mature. So looking 20 to 40 years ahead, entire categories of work built around predictable processes, such as large portions of long-haul driving, routine manufacturing assembly, and basic legal or medical document processing could be mostly automated. And I'm sure Brian could speak to that process better than I can. That said, history shows that technology tends to eliminate tasks more often than entire profession. So that's what I was kind of touching on with you, Catherine. So meaning many jobs will evolve rather than disappear entirely. How important higher education will be? Higher education will likely remain valuable, but it's in its form and purpose may change significantly. In the next 5 to 10 years, traditional 4-year degrees will still matter in fields like medicine, engineering, law, and research, but employers may increasingly prioritize demonstrated skills, certifications, and practical experience, which they were just talking about, over alternative pathways such as online learning platforms, micro-credentials, employer-run training programs, and competency-based education could become more common. So really the technical aspect of it, certifications, having a specified skill set is gonna be still very valuable. In the next 20 to 40 years, education may shift toward a lifelong learning model where people regularly update skills throughout their careers rather than relying on a single degree earned in life. In other words, education will remain important, but continuous learning may matter more than the initial credential. Strategies for workers to remain relevant in the next 5 to 10 years. The most effective strategy for staying relevant will be developing a mindset of adaptability and continuous skill growth. Workers who regularly update their knowledge, especially in areas related to digital tools, data, and AI, will likely have the advantage. Another key strategy is focusing on human-centered traits such as problem solving, communication and leadership, and creative thinking, because these are harder to automate. Building a portfolio of skills rather than relying on a single specialization will also help. For example, someone who combines technical literacy with business understanding and good communication and leadership skills will often be more resilient in changing job markets. Finally, staying informed about industry trends and being willing to reskill or shift roles as technology changes will become increasingly important. And I'm almost done here. We got one last paragraph. I'm sorry.
We're with you so far.
Skill sets likely to offer the best job security in the next 5-10 years. Skills that combine technical knowledge with human judgment will likely provide the strongest job security. Technical areas such as software development, data analysis, cybersecurity, AI oversight, and systems engineering are expected to remain in high demand. And then, like she mentioned, electricians, mechanics, construction specialists, all very difficult to automate, are going to be made essential to infrastructure. So overall, the safest career path will often involve a mix of technical literacy, critical thinking, creativity, and interpersonal skills, allowing workers to collaborate effectively with both people and machine. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you, guys.
And the beauty of that is you can always blame it on ChatGPT.
Exactly.
No, that sounds like a pretty good summary,
But I
actually,
think that-
and a
I
good
think that-
contribution to our discussion. Go ahead, John.
I think
I'm
that
sorry.
Trent demonstrates exactly the skill set, which is the prompt. Did you hear the prompt? It was
Yeah.
detailed. So I think that, again, that's the, every industry is going to have AI skills embedded in it. I don't think it's going to replace jobs as much as it's going to pivot the skills that we need to teach in each area. But AI prompting, prompt engineers is probably an area of growth, and you have to be able to write well enough and think critically enough to write a good prompt. Otherwise, you're not going to get the information that you need. And then you also have to be able to critically think and problem solve so that you can make sure that's true. Because right now, if you sometimes you do get, I mean, sometimes I've put stuff in and I'm like, that is not true. I know my content area well enough that that is an outlier that it got from some wacky, document. So I do think that prompt engineering in every area, especially in technical, is going to be really important in the future. And we do know that the highest paying jobs in California will be in that 1 to 2 year technical training. The 4-year degrees are probably going to need graduate school. You're going to need to be a physician or a doctor or a lawyer. But just the 4-year degree is not going to be enough. You're going to need technical training on top of that.
The 4-year degree is going to be the new high school.
I mean, this was happening when I was in college.
Sure.
I'm a good example of that because I got a degree in communications, very broad,
Yeah, good luck.
very
Yeah.
broad field, and so I didn't really know which aspect of communications I wanted to do. At first, I thought it was public relations, advertising, whatever, and then I found my love for writing, actually moving back home and writing for the Porterville Recorder. And so that's when I developed that skill set. So I think that adaptability part is a really important issue. You have to be willing to adapt and pivot based on the feedback that you're getting.
Yeah. I'd like to take our discussion to how AI fits in with all of the jobs and skills and everything else that we're discussing. But before we do that, I want to make sure we get to something we haven't talked about yet, which is the specifics of nursing education in our communities. How many are we training? And are we training? You just said before that you're sort of like catching up with the demand. And is that field changing as far as its training goes to incorporate AI and other technological innovations? That was a lousy prompt, but deal with it.
No, we've got it. So within the last couple of years, COS has doubled the size of our nursing program. So we graduate 200 registered nurses per year. So we accept 80 in the spring and 80 in the fall, and then every other summer we accept 20 in a year-round cohort. So that alone has helped us decrease the nursing shortage that we have seen in Tulare County. And then the other part of your question is, how are nurses being trained? Is AI affecting their training? So nurses are regulated by a board of registered nursing. So if you ever need CPR, a nurse isn't going to go to AI and be like, help me perform CPR. Now, I can tell you that nursing students do use AI to help better prepare for their nursing program, to create study guides, to give them test questions to prep for their TEAS exams or their NCLEX exams.
Earlier, we were talking, and you also mentioned that one of the difficulties for training nurses is
preparedness.
they're having the qualifications to start the program.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and so like I was talking about earlier, I've been meeting with students all this week who are trying to get into the nursing program but aren't scoring high enough on the TEAS exam. And so it's really reviewing within the TEAS scores. And I mean, these are bright students. They've passed anatomy, physio, micro with A's and B's. They've passed English and math with A's and B's. But it's the TEAS exam that's really holding them up. And so
TEAS exam?
yes, it's a ATI. It's like a skills-based exam.
It's TEAS, it's TEAS, and it stands for Test of Essential Academic Skills.
Okay.
It's made
Thank
up of your math,
Yeah.
English reading, and then your sciences. So it's made up of those 4 different areas. It's a heavy component on the nursing application, and the questions are formatted in a way that you have to pay attention to detail, as a nurse does, absolutely. And so I've been working with those individuals to kind of review their TEAS exams, helping them prepare to better take it in the future as well. And I've heard from multiple of them, like, yeah, I use chat to help me kind of prep for my TEAS, giving me mock questions or drafting study guides based off of what TEAS says I need to improve on.
That's one of the most common and probably useful things that AI does for students, isn't it? Is to help them prepare,
Yeah, absolutely.
test them,
Yeah.
as it were.
Yep.
I do think that is one area even 10 years ago, students would study with their books all open, and they'd be reading the material over and over again, or they would, say, well, I went over the PowerPoints or whatever, I listened to the lectures, but they didn't practice recall. And a test is where you close the books and you have to practice remembering the information. And so we saw students who they say, well, I studied for 12 hours. How did I get a D on this test? I said, did you ever close your book and practice recall? And so what the AI tool does is it allows them to write quizzes and test questions that really test their critical thinking, and they can write the questions. The AI tools will help them write NCLEX style questions, so critical thinking questions, not rote memorizing questions. So I do think AI, we've seen students be able to study wiser and more efficiently with the use of the AI tools.
If they are coming to the program, though, and not being fully qualified, do changes need to be made in secondary education to prepare these nursing
Oh
students?
man, that's like a softball. Thank you so much, Paul, for that question. I would say if you know a high school kid, please convince them that graduating from high school is not the goal, because the graduation requirements are going to get them a job maybe at Target. And they might lose their job at Target when Target goes completely automated. So I would say if you have a high school kid, they need to take 4 years of math. They need to take
3 years of foreign language.
3 years of foreign language, 4 years of English, reading and writing, and 4 years of science. That is what's going to prepare them for any job. But the problem is, in order to get more students through high school, those are not the requirements to graduate. And so students have this thought, well, I graduated, but it's not really prepared them for the workforce and the technical level of training. So we tell all of our high school students, you don't want to just graduate, you want to be prepared. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what the 4 years of math, 4 years of English, 4 years of science, they'll be much more prepared for the technical type training that we're doing at the college.
Ashley?
Yeah, and so I think a lot of the high school students, but even students who are first generation college students, they don't know what they don't know. And so that's where when I go into Kauai and I'm meeting with their LVNs or other folks who want to be upskilled, I am preaching to the nursing application because they don't know what they don't know. They go in blindly trying to become a nurse, and then next thing they know, they've failed out of anatomy twice. So now they're not going to get into the COS nursing program. And so I think that's a really important component is, like, we know the requirements for nursing, but I never assume. I explain every single requirement to a nurse or pre-nursing student as I meet with them, because they don't know what they don't know.
Speaking of what we don't know, do any of you have any questions? Yeah, thanks for that softball there, Ashley. That was nice. Okay. Yeah. Please, by the way, when you're asking questions of us, please use the microphone because this is being live streamed.
Thank you for this presentation. It's very interesting and exciting. And kind of to continue that last topic, so how are you connecting, like with high schools? Is there an active outreach program to really get this word out to the young people, so when they're a freshman or even before, they know about this tremendous opportunity?
We do have a robust outreach in partnership with all of our feeder high schools. It's required, and we meet with them regularly. Dual enrollment is something that's really high on everybody's to-do list. So high schools are trying to get their students into college classes earlier. We're working very hard to make sure they don't take just any dual enrollment. We call it random acts of dual enrollment. I want them to take dual enrollment that actually leads to a certificate or leads to a degree. We don't want them wasting units, because units, you can only have a certain number of units and then your financial aid is expired. So we want to be wise when high school students take college classes. So dual enrollment is one strategy that we're using to really help students. As soon as they see the rigor of a college class, they kind of take it up a level. So if they can experience that in high school, they tend to be a little bit more successful in college. I would say the other thing is there's a lot of academies at the high schools that work very, very closely with the college faculty. We have healthcare pathways, we have engineering pathways, we have ag pathways. A lot of the high schools have 2 or 3 academies that students apply to get into.
VTech is one of those, right?
Say what?
VTech?
Yes, VTech is a vocational technical high school that's aligned with COS, yes.
Yeah.
So the high schools and the colleges work really, really closely together. We actually we have a CTE high school liaison. It's a position, and their job is just to go out and make sure that all the high schools know about our CTE programs. We have a Jumpstart program in the summer where we take rising seniors, so they've finished their junior year, they're going into their senior year. We bring them onto the COS campus for a month. They get a stipend. They put their phones away. They clock in, and we teach them how to be successful in the workplace and in college. And they get to try it in an area where they already have some aptitude. So we love our Jumpstart program, and it's really helped. We had a few low-enrolled programs when we started the Jumpstart program 4 years ago, and now all of our programs have wait lists. So it's been good to get to partner with our high schools and let them know about the importance of technical training. But nothing is better than a parent or a grandparent saying, yes, you will take 4 years of college, because students don't do optional. So I just say, if you want a gas card, you got to take 4 years of math. You want to, you just don't give them the option. They just need to know that it's not optional. They need 4 years of college, 4 years of math, 4 years of English, 4 years of science when they're in high school.
Hold on, we're going to get a microphone to you in just a second. As soon as go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. I was just wondering how the sciences are doing in the high schools, because 20 years ago, the sciences were impacted at Redwood, and you had to really just elbow to get your kid in the science class. How is it now?
I would say they probably still struggle in that area. I mean, high schools really do need exceptional teachers, and I think they work very, very hard at recruiting and training their instructors. But the math and science, if they're good at that, they can make more money in other sectors. So for a really good math or science teacher, they have to really feel called to teaching at the secondary level. It takes a really special person to teach junior high math. It takes a really special person to teach biology in high school. So we don't pay those people enough. I wish we could. I wish there was an answer to that. But yeah, it still is a problem. But I think Visalia Unified and our high schools around here really understand the importance of that rigor, and they work very hard to make sure their students have that access.
I'd just like to piggyback off that real quick. I think STEM courses and emphasis on STEM is going down because it's not
You all know that STEM is science,
STEM,
technical
science,
education, math, right?
Yes, STEM classes. I think it's going down with the younger generation because it's not really fun. Like, they're not presenting it as fun. So we have to, this is where I'm an optimist. This is where I think AI can make a huge difference, because, I'm hearing like 4 years of math, and I'm like, man, I would have been screwed. But this is yes. I mean, the skill set is there, but that 4 years can be condensed into 1 year. And so let me ask you a question. If a student is still retaining the information, because you were talking about retention, if they retain that information by prompting AI and not necessarily what we deem as the traditional means, is information gained still information gained, right? If they remember it, they remember that information, that's the lesson. So I think we really have to, we're putting a lot of pressure on our younger generation, on students. There's a lot of pressure. I'm hearing like waiting lists and all the, yeah, that's true. That's the reality of the environment we're in. But these kids are under a lot of pressure. And I think we gotta really just kind of stimulate that creativeness, because a lot of these big tech companies, let me tell you something, they're run by people who did not go to college, who did not graduate. A lot of them have backgrounds, they have skill sets, but these, the tech, the entire changing of the guards in Silicon Valley was really run by creators, by innovators, by people who think outside the box and want to give something for everybody for innovative technology. And so this is where I think like the accessibility really comes into play, and the equitability, right? Like this is giving everybody access to innovative technology and information that we've never seen ever. So yes, it's important to have a skill, it's important to have a background and learn as much as you can, but also it's important to have fun. It's important to just want to be creative and see where that gets you, right? Like, so someone like myself, maybe not trending towards the math side, but the writing side, the English side, the reading, that's what I really liked. And to have in high school the available database and resources that we now have would have been absolutely amazing, but it has to be presented like that, right? So I always talk about like chemistry. Like I love chemistry, but if somebody, when I was in 7th grade, said, hey, do you want to learn how to be a wizard? I would have been like, yes. You know what I mean? Of course. I'll take chemistry. Let me learn that. But the way I see all these little squigglies and numbers, I'm like, maybe not, But I love cooking. I love being creative. So it was never framed to me in that aspect. And I think just finding a way to meet students and future employers where they're at and kind of take that pressure off them is going to go a long way into training the workforce and how to be adaptable and to do whatever. So it's like, if you don't make the wait list, it's not the end of the world. There's going to be something else.
And I think that that's a great point, and that's what our Jumpstart program is. It's hands-on learning, and it makes learning. They don't even know they're learning math. They don't even know they're learning science because what they're building something or they're creating something with their hands. So I do think the more you can get that both sides of the brain going at the same time, the critical thinking side and the creative side, that's when their brains just kind of light up. Brian just finished a big project with our electrician training students called the Spark Lab. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so because we have that new complex in Tulare, we have my PLC class that we talked to you guys about a little bit, and we have the electrician class, and we're trying to combine the two because in my world, I'm doing the programming, but I also need electricians to run wire and conduit and all that kind of stuff for me. So Shane Baseman, the electrician instructor, and I put together this lab where we combined classes, and it was a couple hours a week. We would get together, and we basically built a project together. So we designed the controls. The PLC class designed the controls. His class designed the panel, did the pull, and at the end of the semester, we put those two things together and made the system work. So that was kind of like a practical way for us to demonstrate how the real world is. And to what Trenton was saying, everybody was excited. They didn't feel like they were spending time in class because everybody was collaborating. They were doing something that was creative, that was fun. And that's kind of how I try to approach things now because it is a creative thing. It is an artistic thing. And some of the kids that I've hired at Moonlight from COS have that need they need to be fulfilled in that way. And that's what I've noticed. But yeah, we're going to try to do that every year. We just ran out of time this year, but next year we'll have another Spark Lab.
Trenton, I had a question for you. What would you say if a young person came to you and said, I want your job? What do I do to get your job?
I would have said, so being an AI is not something I set out to do. It's something that I'm doing though, and I absolutely love it because I think it's just such an innovative. I just feel like I'm on the ground level of real innovation, right? So I would say follow your joy and see where that leads you. And if you specifically want to work in AI, there is plenty of opportunity. And I think like we've been speaking to all night, it's going to be incorporated more into classrooms, into training. And the need for like in my case, I'm working for a private company, Meta, and everybody's trying to train their models. So whatever your skill set, it's all being trained by experts, right? So whatever your skill set is, if it's Python programming, which is a software language, if it's philosophy, there's a lot of need for philosophy input right now, and philosophy from different cultures. not just Western philosophy, Chinese philosophy, engineering, whatever it is, get that skill set, and then I'm sure there's plenty of companies trying to train their AI models right now to get an advantage. So I don't think it'll be too hard finding work once that happens.
I don't mean to throw a monkey wrench into this discussion, but there are right now millions of young people in China and India who are working as hard as they can, and they don't care whether or not it's fun.
Yeah.
They're going to get those degrees, and they're going to get those skills. So that's our competition. That's all I'm saying. Yes, ma'am.
I was delighted to hear you mention both sides of the brain, because I'm an advocate for the creativity part of this. When I hear you say 4 years of this, and 4 years of that, and 4 years of the other, the part that does leave out are the arts. And so it's not STEM so much as it is STEAM.
Yeah.
And people need to be balanced and able to navigate in two different ways of looking at life and looking at problems. So I'm a heavy advocate for the creativity part of this job that we're looking at of educating young people.
Some of the smartest people in math are musicians, because music is basically math. And when my kids were at Redwood, I said, before you take math, why don't you take choir? Like the period right before you take your math, take a choir class, because that kind of stimulates the whole brain. And I do think it's really important to build in, learning should be fun. When it's fun, you don't even know that you've done math for 4 years. Yeah. So I think that's the kind of thing, finding the art, finding the creativity, whether it's music or programming or building something. I think it's imperative that we not bore students, that we really try to light the spark that is already in them. Like you said, finding what that already brings them joy. I always tell parents, one of the mistakes I see parents find the kid's transcript or their report card, and they get them a tutor for the subject that they get the lowest grade in. They should get them a tutor for what they got the A in, because that's where their aptitude already lies, and you want to flame their fire, not hurt them with, something that they just don't care about. So I think we have to help students find that thing that they're naturally good at early on, and really let students kind of go that direction. They can learn everything in context of that one thing that they really, really like.
I was just going to say the best learning often happens when you don't even realize that you're learning. So,
Question?
Do we have any others back there?
Yes, question. Back to the nursing preparation program. I taught anatomy at COS for 30-some years.
What's your name?
Before AI, long before AI. I've been retired a long time. But a lot of your emphasis, or at least your description, is describing dual enrollment and working with high school and the young students. In my classes, at least then, at least half were reentry students. Often women with children working part-time. Great students, very dedicated, very hardworking. So what's the college doing in terms of support for that cohort?
Man, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So you are 100% right. When we talk about high school students and doing 4 years of math and 4 years of English, that's really for your students who are ready to go into your engineering pathways right out of high school, who know that they want to become nurses, and these are prereqs for nursing. We also have students that come in that don't know what they want to do, or they come in and they know that they don't want to do 4 years of math. They're not good at math. That's where some of our CTE, our trade programs, really come into play. Those are your hands-on programs. Those guys in welding shops, they're in there welding. They're not in there learning how to format a sentence properly. I think with the re-entry population, like you mentioned, at COS, we've got a variety of support services. We've got EOPS, which provides book vouchers for students. We have CalWorks, which provides stipends for daycare for moms who want to go to school, or they provide gas cards. We have training scholarships in place with the Workforce Investment Board. So if you are a low income, individual in Tulare County, you can be sponsored through a training program. The whole cost of your program is going to be paid for, and it will lead you to a high wage, high demand job once you've finished it. Other services at COS, we've got academic support services for individuals with learning disabilities or physical disabilities. Let's see, we also have a transfer and career center for those individuals who come in and they're a first generation college student. They've never been to college before, they don't know what they want to do, so they meet with a career counselor to do a career assessment to learn about some of the different career opportunities available within Tulare County. Let's see, other supportive services that we have at COS. We've got a TRIO program.
And I think you're spot on. I would say probably half of our students at COS
It's at least, yeah.
are reentry. They've done something else for a while and they're coming back to college, and that's really the purpose of the community college, is to be there, at a reasonable or free cost. So in anatomy and physiology, those are hard classes to get into. Often our kids coming from high school can't even get into those classes because they don't have a high enough registration date to get in. So most of the people that get into the nursing prerequisites are students that have already been there at least a year or two, or are coming back and taking those prerequisites. So thank you for all your work in teaching anatomy, physiology.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. You've
Yes.
you probably have done more for the nursing profession than we have in 30
Yeah.
years of teaching anatomy, physiology. And one thing, I'm a physical therapist by training, and I always loved anatomy and physiology versus technology because it doesn't change. The body is the biceps and the triceps and the quads are still the same place. I would hate to sell iPhones because they change so much, but at least the body, anatomy, physiology, pretty much the same. But one thing I do love is just the 3D dimensional tools that we can give students on their phone. We've bought these Antimage tables that are like, it's like having a cadaver dissection with all the layers. We can just show the circulatory system. We can just show the muscle system. We can run EKGs. We can give the patient a heart attack. They can watch the blood flow. We can turn the patient to a diabetic if we need to. So we are using technology in the sciences to really help our students engage and enjoy the learning, and again, not realize they're learning it. But as you know, learning just takes work, and sometimes I think we have to help students build a little bit of grit, that they can do hard things, they can study for the TEAS test, they can read a book for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
They can, there's some really important things can just be done that are simple, that I think we don't have to make everything flashy all the time. Okay. But we do really enjoy our return students, and they often set the curve.
Oh, they absolutely do. Yeah. I've got 18-year-olds in the nursing program, and I've got 40-year-olds. It is lifelong learning.
Thanks. So I'd like to address Brian on this one. I'm from ag, and I'm an entomologist, and there's a lot of AI going on, even with bees and pollination and pest management, environmental monitoring. Where do we've heard a lot about the health sciences, and that's awesome. How do we grow all this in ag in this area, this geography?
So you're asking about like the fruit itself or the industry, or?
No, the industry utilizing this amazing resource.
I got you. Yeah, so I can tell you what we use AI for at Moonlight. So we write all of our own applications. We're doing all of our own vision training, our vision model training. All of that's done with Claude. So all of our programmers use Claude, and they're just directing it, they're prompting it, telling it to write code for whatever it is. I use it quite a bit in COS and at Moonlight as well. So I'm mainly keeping track of projects and things like that with it. But so my boss, who's the CTO over there at Moonlight, he's using it to map fields and figure out the best way to automate picking that. So in the next year, we're going to be using our own automated pickers. So we're going to be removing some of the workforce with that. And that's just a cost savings thing. So Moonlight spends like it's $1 million a day in people just picking our fruit. So it's pretty crazy, but I mean, we're using it in a bunch of different aspects. We use it for all of our data collection. We spend a lot of money on AI. We're trying to use it responsibly. We're trying to get all of our programmers on board with it and just make sure that their code is correct. But it's becoming like it's an everyday thing. with all of us. And Ashley, John, and I as well. We use it pretty much every day at COS.
The World Ag Expo this year, it was different than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, certainly was.
Every employer there, all the technology was AI enhanced, and I think tracking water, which trees are producing, which ones need to be tore out, which ones are still producing. It is revolutionizing the ag industry, which is exciting because we are the largest ag producers in the world in this area. But from tracking water to analytics on a spreadsheet, just the profit loss of certain types of, like one orange versus another type of orange or citrus, just the automation equipment. We're looking at sprayers that nobody's on the sprayer. It's just going up and down. There's they're picking flowers one at a time. Some robotic engineered. I mean, if you go over like in the Salinas Valley and go at night, there's all these lights in the fields because they're harvesting at night. They can work. These robots will literally can work 24/7. So AI is it is revolutionizing agriculture.
World Ag Expo was an excellent place this year to find out where those innovations are being made through AI. I hope we don't have any more questions, because before we plunge further in, well, we're gonna have to just hold it. I'm like, the father saying to the kid in the back seat, just hold it. We've got another 25 miles to the next rest area. You talked a little bit before about the things that you need to train your students in that are soft skills. Shoot. Let me know a little bit about that.
Yeah, so me, Brian, and Jonna, we meet with employers on a regular basis, large employers, small employers. And so we always hear the biggest need is soft skills. Coming into work on time, putting your phone away, communication, teamwork, and something else that we've heard a lot of employers is just commitment. So we've got people who will leave this employer and go across the street for $1 more. And then they hate their life, and they're like, can I please come back? And usually employers are desperate enough, they take them back. So those are a lot of the huge things that we've heard from employers. And this has been ongoing. This is not new. This has been ongoing, I would say, at least the last 4 to 8 years.
I think COVID did break us a little bit. I think people became so focused on isolation and their phones that they kind of forgot how to work in a team. And so I think for our employers in this area, we don't even like to call them soft skills. We like to call them essential workplace skills. But we asked an employer the other day, what do you really want? And he goes, I want them breathing, I want their phone away, and I want them to be able to look me in the eye. And I was like, okay. And that sounds like an easy thing to do, but it is a tall order to help students really learn the people skills and the engagement that they need, and to just show up consistently. We do see students that struggle with just showing up, being consistent, and we're just trying to help them learn that that's what employers are looking for.
So AI is not going to solve any of those particular deficiencies.
I mean, you could definitely ask it for some guidance.
Trent to the rescue.
I always like to think of AI as like your little personal wellness coach, if you use it as such, because it really it will pump you up. It's always kind of whatever. So in this case, if it's like, hey AI, how can I just got an entry level. I got into the nursing program. I'm starting off. What can I do, or what are some things I can implement into my routine to really thrive in this career and take on a leadership role? And based on whatever your environment is and the criteria, AI will break it down for you and help you get to that. So that's another example of how it can be a resource for the soft skills, right? Like learning communication skills, right? There's this video going on my YouTube algorithm right now. It's just saying things like, never ask how are you or how are you doing for some reason, instead of like, instead you say it's good to see you, right? So just that's a soft skill, learning how to communicate clearly, succinctly, in a way that presents confidence is a skill. It's definitely a skill set. I wouldn't even call it a soft skill. I call it it's an essential skill that not a lot of people really recognize or put stock into, but it could, you know, if someone who's good at it will find themselves in a leadership position pretty shortly.
There was a commercial on during the Olympics of a woman that was running, and her AI was her coach. It had told her, you know, you can make it up this hill. Like, you're going to finish this today, and then tomorrow you're going to go this far. And we've had nursing students just, what do I need to study today? Give me a plan for today. We've had students say, you know, tomorrow's my first day at work. What should I do? Drive there tonight and see how long it's going to take. Find your parking place. So AI really can do some coaching for students and new employees that maybe nobody in their life has poured into them enough. So we really want AI to be used by our students to be like a cheerleader or a coach for them. And if they can learn to use it well, I think it will improve their workplace skills.
Do you have a program that you provide to students who are being
yeah.
certificated or whatever?
We have essential workplace skill modules that they can do. We embed them in all of, that's actually in the COS strategic plan, master plan, is that essential workplace skills are embedded in all of our CTE programs. And we connect students as much as possible with a handshake experience with a real employer. So we have all kinds of showcase events, hiring events, lunch and learns, all kinds of times just to get employers and students in the same space, because our students need that social equity. People that get jobs know somebody who owns a business. We're trying to make sure that all of our students have access to people that own businesses and are employing others. So we do a lot of intentional work, and entree to employment. We have about 20 events where we take students and employers to dinner together so they can talk about their industry, talk about the classes, they can get some mentoring and some coaching right there in that space. And students love it. They also learn how to put a napkin in their lap and you know, eat and which fork to use.
It's a very formal dinner.
It is a very formal dinner, but we do it on purpose with students and employers. And it's a phenomenal night. And the employers are always coming up to us afterwards and just shaking their hands and like, I'll do this again. Call me next time you need me to meet with students and have dinner. They don't know what mentoring is. If you ask them, will you be a mentor?
A lot of your students have never had a job before of any kind, have never worked before?
I would say very entry-level positions.
Well,
like fast food.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you've cut grass in your neighborhood, you've developed some of those essential skills. Because you got to ask somebody for a job every time you ask them, can I cut your lawn?
Unless their parents did it for them.
Yeah, we do have to tell parents don't go on interviews. We do have to tell parents that now.
They have to tell parents don't accompany your.
Yeah. I had a kid one time tell me he wore sweats to his interview, and in the middle of it, his brother called him. He's like, "Oh, I gotta take this." He's like, "I didn't get that job." I was like, "Oh no," and I think it's just some of these first generation college students. You know, they don't know what they don't know, so it's really coaching them.
Okay.
Paul?
Any questions in that? Oh. Gene, sorry.
I know you can't see me, but you know I want to ask a question.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't see you.
Is this on?
Yes, it is.
Oh, you got one? Okay.
I was interested in Trent's, not his presentation, but his ability to read the audience with an intelligent question to ask the device. And do you think perhaps in the future, by the way, Meta, they read your mind. They get you on those reels and you're hooked, and I swear. So that's it. So learning relevance, somewhere along the line you knew what people wanted to get. But, and we've had these little nuggets of knowledge from Khan Academy, for example. Is there a future where each kid will get their own AI coach and say, hey, Johnny, we did really good on fractions, but we're going to look at geometry tomorrow. That kind of. Well, you mentioned the coach for the skier. You've already covered. Yeah.
Like, are you referring to the AI model itself?
Well, yeah, AI being used to take nuggets like Khan Academy or Devised.
I mean, that's what I think. So I think a lot of people are still using AI like an advanced Google search right now.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's there even with the most basic ChatGPT model. If you know how to prompt it correctly,
You can get guidance.
Yeah, as I said, it's like your own personal life coach, and it's accessible. And that's what the thing that I like about the most is the accessibility. All you need is a Wi-Fi connection or internet connection, and you have access to that. And you just need to have that, kind of certainty. You could experiment with the prompts, but you could say, hey, I have this and this and this, or I have this amount of ingredients in my fridge. What can I make for dinner tonight? Or how can I set myself up to, for my program, I have this goal, I have this objective in mind. This is where I'm at. This is what I have. These are the resources I have to work with. How can I make this happen? And AI will
or a
often-
feedback loop that makes the kid ever more curious to actually learn things.
And I'll take my own life as an example. AI has helped me tremendously with DIY house projects that would have otherwise cost me hundreds of dollars. All I do is take a picture. I say, hey, the light's not working here, the fan's not working. How can I fix this? What part do I need? AI will let me know. I order it. I'm saying, okay, all right. So if one thing doesn't work, and I've literally fixed over 10 projects at the house that have been sitting there for the last 2 years. I've got them done in the last 3 months, and my wife's like, "Oh my, what's going on?" I'm just like, "I don't know, baby. I just knew these things all along." But no, I use it as a tool, as a resource, and it's helped tremendously in that aspect. So but still, the main things like electricians. If you need an AC heating unit replaced or rooftop unit replaced, you still want people to do that, right? You don't want to DIY certain things, but like the everyday things, like whether it's a light bulb or whatever it is, something that's within the range, AI can help tremendously with that. So I think what you're asking, I think that, and there's also pay-as-you-go models. Like there's also models you could pay a subscription for, which will give you more feedback. But that basic component is already there today. So that there's already that ability.
They're developing those now, right? Those pay-as-you-go models.
Yeah, they have, like Meta has a pay model. I know Gemini has a paid subscription model. But the core essentials, like basics, are there for everybody right now.
One thing I have to say is what a resource COS is. I mean, if you can take somebody who has a low-paying job and provide a multiplier at, what greater opportunity can the public provide? And years ago, they were raising money with a bond thing. You have to convince them, really, because you see the practical results of economic progress.
Yeah, and so I can tell you, without community colleges, you don't have registered nurses, you don't have firefighters, you don't have police officers, you don't have electrician. Well, you might have electricians, so your trade unions. But industrial maintenance technicians, industrial automation, we are kind of the backbone of your workforce development.
Yeah, and it's amazing to see these types of resources being developed at the community college. It's really exemplifies what community college is all about, in my opinion. And I know this whole meeting was about how to prepare the next generation and the workforce and the skills. And it's really heartening to see the kind of work that's happening in our community right now, being here. So
Very deep equity work, you guys.
Other questions? Anyone? Okay. Oh, we got one in the back there.
How much of an advantage do you think kids who use AI have over kids who don't use AI? Because most of my friends and I don't use AI, even though we're in college.
Well,
I don't think it's using it or not using it. It just depends on what skill set you have. I mean, there are going to be people in jobs that have that skill set to be creative and use AI in ways that make them more efficient. But I don't think everybody needs to use AI to be good at something. So I don't think it's a make or break, but we do have to teach it like anything else. It's a skill set that employers are expecting their workforce to at least know about it and know how to use it. I think the most important thing we can teach right now is curiousness. To just spark, I want an answer for something, and I do think that's one thing that AI has sparked in students is they ask it questions all day long. I mean, things that when I grew up, you had to go up, look it up in the encyclopedia. I remember we had encyclopedias behind our dining room table. My dad would, if we had a question, he'd say, look it up. But I think AI is that, it just is a tool for curiousness. And I think that's really the thing that we need to if you're curious, you'll
Embrace
learn
it.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just add to that. I think the underlying thread too is the advantage is not necessarily with AI. It's with communication skills and learning how to develop that. No, the people who have developed that skill set and have good leadership-based, confident communication skills do have an advantage. But it's not something that it's something that they work at. It's something that it's skill set. So rather than the technology, it's still the faced everyday human interactions that we do. That's ultimately going to give you the best advantage.
Kathy, do you have something? Yes. Kathy Falconer's got a question.
Thank you. You're talking as far as educating the youth and getting them prepared for it. And I'm just curious about businesses and about industry. And are they moving up the ladder to utilize these skills? Or are the AIs creating the need for the businesses to adapt and change? You had mentioned the agriculture and the picking. I'm from Washington, and I had workers for me who were pickers. They were prizing their way as pickers, but they will lose their jobs. In agriculture, environment is a critical issue of it. And then she was talking about bees, and I'm just thinking about all the wonderful things that AI could do to prepare our human bodies to protect ourselves against those environmental issues. So really, where is the level in our industry, in our production layer within our country, being improved, being moved upward to force them to utilize AI? And the last thing I have to say is the AI would challenge any brain of any high school student. Just giving them those questions, those challenges, would make a world of difference.
Let me start off kind of as a prelude to Kathy's questions. Is business or industry, do they feel threatened by AI? Are they reluctant to maybe incorporate it or have their workers or their job applicants be?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I mean, we meet with hiring managers and training managers all the time who are utilizing AI, and really what it is it's a tool for efficiency. That's really what AI is, 110%. Brian, do you kind of want to add to her question regarding,
environmental safety?
Yes.
So what Ashley was saying, so we're using AI to make ourselves more efficient. So something that would take one of our programmers a couple days to program, whatever it was, he can do in like an hour now, which now we're starting to move employees to different roles. That's something that we've got into. We're being more proactive with our water treatment, how we're laying out our fields, things like that. We're using it as a tool for efficiency. We're not trying to use it to replace people. We're not trying to use it to, take over the world or anything like that. It's strictly just to help us. And are we scared of it? No, we're not. So everybody is using it at this point. Everybody wants to have their hands in it because nobody wants to be left behind at this point. But how things are going to look once the dust settles, we're not 100% sure. So at this point, we're using it to make money, just like everybody else.
And be efficient.
And efficient.
Any of those businesses who have the money to pursue technology that would improve their efficiency would be the ones that have the money, that have the funds to do that. And so is there going to be a diversity in the types of businesses running? If they don't have the funds, they can't extend themselves to that point where they'll prosper?
Yeah, so it's like a question of how much money you have to invest, right? Like, so if you have more money, you can do more with it. So does it give us an advantage, or does it give companies that have that capital to invest an advantage? It absolutely does. But we're also trying to keep our heads above water, is kind of like how I think about it.
Well, and I think ChatGPT and Meta and Google, a lot of those search engines are free. You have to have access to the Wi-Fi, but really the cool thing is it is an equalizer. Whereas in the past, I would say in students in anatomy and physiology, if your parents or you could afford a tutor, you got extra help. And now I think there's more equity involved in education because everybody can, at least they have to have a cell phone, but they all have cell phones. They can use ChatGPT and get get some of that tutoring and that one-on-one teaching and a customized, tutor that's kind of coaching them. So in some ways, I think AI is going to level the playing field. And I do hope, I have high hopes for it if we can use it ethically.
Yeah, just like Brian said, everything to scale. I think for small businesses, just like a small business would hire a marketing manager to help campaign for like run commercials or ads or whatever, I see prompting or AI prompting and automation, like a consultant in a consultant aspect. I could see small businesses doing that. So maybe they don't have the resources like a Meta or a Google or a big time corporation has. Sorry. But you could still hire to scale and hire like a consultant to come in and help with the automation aspect of it, help with the prompting aspect, whatever it is, like, hey, I want to automate my accounts. Easy. And I could see that really being an emerging kind of field or job in the next 5 years for sure.
So just training business owners to utilize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to ask Brian, do you think like a crew manager in the next 3 years is going to have more of a background in automation necessarily than like machinery and like learning how to run heavy machinery?
So is it helpful? Like, is that going to make?
Yeah,
them
is it going to like? Are they going to have basically as much of a knowledge in software and automation as what they do in running heavy machinery?
Yeah, so probably not software, and the reason being is I can write. I know almost nothing about computer programming, and I can write an app with Claude AI. So like, and my boss has done this too, and he wrote an app for, I don't know, something with his wife and his kids, and he tells his kids stories with it and whatever, and so there's gaps in skills that AI is filling for us, and are people going to have to know more about automation and mechanics and things like that? For sure, because it's going to make you more valuable. The people that take the time and learn those extra skills those are the ones that we're going to want to hang on to. And we might move into leadership roles and things like that. So we're already seeing that now, in fact. We're doing that.
That's interesting. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I do think for employers who haven't fully utilized AI, change is hard, but it is inevitable. And so I think at some point, as they see how other businesses are using it efficiently, they'll start to tap into it, and then they'll be like, this is actually a return on investment for me to know.
Any others? How are businesses and our economy, our local economy, will have to change? How will it have to change as a result of automation, artificial intelligence, and other technological innovations? What's going to be different about it in 10, 20, 50 years?
Well, number one, immediately right now, costs for things are going up quite a bit. I'm working with Exeter Unified. They're trying to, or Exeter High School, they're trying to put an industrial maintenance program into their high school, and we can't get laptops because AI companies are buying up all the RAM. And like same thing with electricity costs. Those are going up a little bit. So things are becoming a little bit more expensive. But on the positive side, we're freeing people up to do more important tasks. And I have a little bit more time because I'm using AI. The guys at Moonlight, people at COS, we have a little bit more time because we're using AI. And I think it's just our reliance on it is probably going to go up as time goes on, for sure, as things get smarter. And, like if I could have an assistant, an AI assistant, constantly to do things for me, it'd be fantastic. I'd have to work, I could work a few less hours a day or whatever. So I think it's all going to grow. I think it's, I think eventually, and maybe Trent can answer this as well, I think there's going to be probably 3 or 4 big AI companies, and they're going to provide a specific service. So like Claude might be coding, Gemini might be image generation, ChatGPT may be, writing papers or whatever that is. Probably going to go like a subscription-based kind of thing as well. I don't know, what do you think, Trenton, on that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting take on it, because I think right now everybody's vying for the same space, and they're trying to figure out what that's going to look like. I know Gemini is definitely has an advantage. ChatGPT for sure. Meta, what I'm working at now, is still trying to get there, but the advantage is with their database. So they have, millions of social media accounts that they use to train their AI. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but if you've been on Yelp lately, they have a new AI agent on there that you can really specify your search with. Another app that I use a lot that I noticed there was an AI, I forget, but all these apps are now implementing agentic AI in their platforms. So this is another example of how everybody's kind of using their own model. But there's a parent model that they're using from somewhere. But yeah, that's interesting. I think, it remains to be seen. We'll see where the next 5 years gets us.
Do you think it'll be diversified among many different companies, or is it going to end up being concentrated in the 3 or 4 top, somewhat the way computing is now, or the entertainment?
I think a lot of that is going to have to do with who has the money and resources to spend on large-scale data centers, and that's really that's.
So it will be concentrated on just a few companies.
So it's going to be, the big companies are going to have the advantage because they have the means to build these, extremely large data centers. And that's one of the things locally that is a little bit of cause for concern is, do we want a 40-acre data center in Tulare County for Meta? Probably not, right? But who knows? Like, if the money's there and it ends up being a positive influence on the community, maybe so. But there's a lot. We are in an energy renaissance right now. It's kind of an energy rush, gold rush. So the need to reinforce the infrastructure to be able to handle that kind of bandwidth is there, because right now it's our infrastructure is pretty old. So data centers and the ability to handle more bandwidth is definitely going to be, it's not going away anytime soon. And so, the boom is there. So to answer your question, the large companies probably will have the advantage in that aspect.
So all the valley agricultural acreage will end up being devoted to data centers, solar farms, and wind farms.
Well, people still have to eat, so hopefully not everything.
We'll let South America take care of that. Okay, one more thing for you all. What new skills or training or ways of doing their jobs will teachers need in 10, 20, 50 years? You're already doing it, so I know you know the answer to the question.
Well, I think teachers are going to need to use AI to make their classrooms creative and engaging. They have to stay up with the technology, otherwise their students are going to outperform them. So I think teachers have to follow the trends, and I think most teachers are excited about AI. Maybe not writing; they're afraid it's gonna. But I think his prompt is well written, and what I try to tell our English instructors is teach them how to prompt, embrace AI and teach them how to use the tool. But I still do think you need to be able to read and write without a machine helping you. So I do think that instructors are going to have to find that balance between technology in the classroom and then just good old-fashioned things like writing and reading and just discussing, having a book club in their class. Or I do feel like the short little videos and reels that people watch are kind of addicting them to really, it is changing the way the brain chemistry works. If I could recommend a book, it's called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. And it really just talks about how this exposure to these quick, short pieces of information that are just dimensional on a screen, how it changes the wiring, and how important it is to young brains to not be overexposed. That's why many high schools are getting rid of computers in the classroom, at least every day. They're bringing them in for certain things. I think teachers in the future are going to have to find that balance between when is technology helpful and when does it lead to the really creative use of AI, and when is it harmful to sit a kid in front of a screen all day.
And yeah, just to add to that, we've already gone through some pretty extreme changes. the implementation of the internet in the classroom, cell phones where everybody's got, calculator, apps all over the place. So education institutions have already had to adapt to some pretty profound changes, and it's not going to be any different with AI. And I would say, as far as like the shorts and the algorithm, yes, there is definitely that, but also I think that's why we're seeing a need or a want of like the long format, like podcasting. That's also become very popular because people also crave that too, because the shorts keep everything so, in snippets, and people want to actually hear conversations. So it's always a balance. We don't really know how it's going to play out, but we do know that, again, adaptability is going to be the main thing.
And so I'll talk to the K through 12th graders. So I have a close friend who she teaches second grade, and so she's got about 28 kids in her class, and so she used to meet with them one-on-one bi-weekly to basically do testing. And so she was telling me how she's used AI to kind of help create a plan for keeping the rest of the class occupied. So they kind of have like stations where they're still in their seat, but for one station they're doing this, for the next station they're doing that. Well, she's meeting with other students one-on-one. So that is what the K through 12 system looks like right now. And so she's used it to help her be more efficient in the classroom.
So there's hope.
Yes.
We're not robots.
No.
I do think there's a lot of faculty development. There's a lot of good pedagogy, how to be a better teacher. There's a lot of great resources through different platforms, and AI, I think, can really be used. Not everybody has to travel to a conference anymore. You can, watch it at home.
And
So I
good
think-
teachers will always use those resources.
Yes, they always, good teachers will
Yeah.
always be needed.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been a great discussion, I think, isn't it? Give them a round of applause. Well, those people can also see it online, at the YouTube channel. We have been streaming this discussion. I want to thank Trenton Lively, Joanna Schengel, Ashley Land, and Brian Medina. Brian, thank you. You were a terrific panel, and I really appreciate your being here tonight. Give them another round of applause, please. Okay, we're going to do this again next month, April 14th. Now, we've kind of got a through line here, a little trend. Last month, we talked about the housing for the future. Today, we've been talking about work and jobs in the future. Next month, we're going to talk about how we're going to play in the future. Planning for Visalia's recreation, parks and recreation in the future will be the subject of our forum in April. Hope to see you all there, and many more if we can. Thank you very much, and good night.